Welcome. Come one, come all. Because Stephen King about to sue somebody. This is episode 388 of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 3rd of February 2021, and featuring Sarah Jane Adventures The Day of the Clown, written by Phil Ford and starring Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith, Tommy Knight as Luke Smith, Daniel Anthony as Clyde Langer, Alexander Armstrong as Mr. Smith, and introducing Anjali Mohindra as Rani Chandra. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and coffee seems to be the only painkiller that works on me. With me are Randy Ronson McCulloch,
They all float down here.
Mad Matt Winchell,
Killer clowns from outer space.
and Thomas Fireheart.
God, I can't believe the killer clowns thing didn't occur to me.
I don't think there's quite as many one-to-one comparisons with that movie as the other property that we've been talking about.
There's some stuff you could mention that it does cross into. Mostly the fact that they are clowns and they are meant to be feared, at least according to the creators of them. If you go, I don't know. Go ask one of the Chiodo brothers. They're still around. Matter of fact, I keep hearing rumors that they're trying to get back into that Killer Clown 2 plan again.
I would like to note that Killer Clowns was probably also inspired by it.
Oh, it almost
Possibly.
definitely was, yeah.
It's possibly, but no, the majority of what inspired Killer Clowns is actually the fact that Chiodo brothers were given the okay to make whatever movie they wanted, and they're a bunch of special effects guys, so they're like, one thing that all three of us agree upon, clowns are fucking creepy.
Although, if it was inspired, it was probably loosely because it actually came out before the Tim Curry version.
Yeah, well, if it was inspired, it was very loosely off the original story.
I was thinking more of the book than
right.
Yeah. More along the lines of somebody there had just read it and said, "You know what? Clowns are creepy."
Of course, my initial thing was going to be, and also starring Bradley Walsh as Pennywise, essentially.
The book came out at just the right time. That could have been literally that thought process. Like, oh yeah, I'm trying to figure out what to make a movie about, and here's a book with a clown on the cover.
Did the original book have a clown on the cover?
It had a clown in it. I'm just saying.
Because I'm pretty sure most of the covers I've seen there didn't have a clown, but anyway.
Most covers don't. But yeah, that's the weeds.
No, I'm thinking somebody read it and went, "You know what? He's right. Clowns are scary. Evil space clown, scarier. Let's make a whole bunch of them and put them in a movie."
And just have them invade a town. There we go. The script writes itself from there.
I wasn't saying that they stole from it. I'm just saying that they got that somebody read it and hit, "Oh, that's a fucking idea right there." That was
everybody's week been.
I nearly died.
Ooh.
I lost.
Go ahead.
I lost my blood pressure medication for 2 days.
Ooh.
Oh.
And I went downhill really fast. Finally, I found it on Saturday. I have no idea how it managed to get itself lodged in my computer bag. And not even in the main part of my computer bag, in one of the side flaps.
Ooh.
And I was probably hours from having to call 911 and go into the hospital.
Ooh.
And I immediately took my pills, and within, I would say, an hour, I felt 1,000 times better. But
I feel so much better. Flop.
And then I proceeded to sleep for about 24 and a half hours. Because I hadn't slept much in the previous 2 days. But yeah, it was one of those things where it was just like, oh my God, I really need to stop this near-death experience bullshit. Because one of these times it is going to get me.
Getting too old for this shit, dude. My
Uh,
chair actually came in 2 days early,
hmm.
and I'm sitting in it right now.
Now all you got to do is replace that monster of a boom mic. Well, not the mic, just the boom.
Is that one of those $200 gaming chairs?
Actually, it was $100 air quotes church chair. It's a four-legged chair with big cushions on it, with a metal frame that's holding everything together.
Mm.
Okay.
The only thing that's a little bit about it right now is the fact that I still need to put the screws into the back of the back piece, which apparently doesn't have any pre-made holes.
Mm.
So you need a drill to put it
So I need a
together?
legit drill to put this thing together. But in the meantime, it can position fine and sit there, and it's not going to do it any damage because it's made out of cushion and apparently wood.
Hmm.
But
Well,
that means he's no longer getting metal squeaky from his chair.
I no longer get metal squeaky. I no longer have
Right.
to adjust my freaking lean in order to make my seat sit level.
That's good.
And like I said, now all he has to do is get rid of that boom, replace that boom mic, so he no longer has metal squeaky.
Hmm.
'Cause,
Oh,
yeah,
you mean this?
yes, yes.
See, that only happens
sounds
when
like
I
just
move
needs
it.
some that sounds like it just needs some WD-40.
Maybe. Matt, put that on your list. Get some fucking WD-40. Because every time I hear that, it goes right down my spinal cord.
Yeah, the fanciest thing I've bought is, well, I subscribe to a mailbox that sends me a full bulb of garlic to chop up myself every week. So I finally gave in and I bought one of those mincers that you can use for garlic or peppers or whatever.
Yeah, I have to wait another week, and then my last piece of my birthday gift should come in, which is going to be a 4-movie DVD pack.
Nice.
Just like an auto mincer, Bill.
Yeah, it's an electric one. It was like $30 on Amazon.
Like one of those little tiny food processor chopper things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to get one of those. But I've got a list of shit I want to get before that.
There's been so many nights where I could make a nice recipe, but I'm not in the mood to sit there chopping shit up into tiny pieces with a knife, and I end up just throwing a burger on the stove instead.
That's what I made for lunch today was burgers, but I also made Red Robin seasoned steak fries. So because my crisper tray plus the frozen fries make awesome fries. Like better than you get in the restaurant fries. And this has been proven with both the Red Robin fries and the Arby's fries.
Oh, better than Arby's.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. You get the frozen Arby's fries, and they're better than the in-store Arby's fries.
Again, yeah, better than Arby's fries. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean,
imagine getting fresh, hot Arby's fries, Matt, without the grease.
I was gonna say the one thing that even people who hate Arby's compliment about Arby's is the fries.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they're not tasty, but the fries you get are greasy as fuck from the restaurant because they're all deep fried.
Right.
These they're nice and they're tasty and they're crispy, all of that flavor, but because they're made in the crisper tray, they're not greasy. There's a little bit of potato oil because it's a potato product, but nowhere the level of you get from deep fried. So they're like the fucking perfect curly fry. And all of this simply by getting one of these as seen on TV crisper trays and just putting the fries in the crisper tray and ovening it instead of just spreading them on a cookie sheet or deep frying it.
I feel like we spend a lot of time talking about cooking in the opening banter.
Yes, we do.
That's what we do. Whenever Randy gets in the mood.
You started it this time, Bill.
At least as far as what's happened.
I didn't say everyone except me. I said we.
No. At least as far as what's happened with me lately, I was finally able to motivate my dad enough that I now have, as of yesterday, I think it was, a wired connection running through the wall, at least through the ceiling, down the wall, to my room for internet and like
Nice.
just an Ethernet port sticking out of the wall now, instead of having to have a 20-meter cable running directly from the modem up along the inside of the running along the walls outside and having to be hung up on hooks and shit so it didn't fall down everywhere.
Mm.
Oh
So that's
God.
good. And my dad's laying cable now through to the granny flat so I can finally move over there like in the next couple of weeks.
Oh God, I remember that back in the day with cable.
Ah.
Just for the cable TV, we lived in a townhouse, and there was only one cable port in the entire thing, and it was downstairs in the living room. But of course, I wanted TV up in my bedroom. So eventually I got a drilled through the floor of the closet into the utility room through a solid wood floor and ran a cable. Because, yeah, that was the only way to do it. It worked.
Mm-hmm.
I had freaking cable TV.
Yeah. Of course, we were trying to initially go through the old phone line to get the wire through to the flat out back. But when we tried to pull the old line that's doesn't work anymore anyway out, I fucked up my wrist trying to pull the goddamn thing out because it just would not budge. So we were just like, fuck it. My dad's at the moment, like he's dug a trench this morning to lay the conduit and that and to put the cable through it and just sort it out that way because it's just a lot easier.
Yeah, there's technically a device to pull that line. You like attach it to like a turn wheel that is supposed to be able to give you enough leverage to pull it through whatever resistance is in there. Because that stuff is like hard stapled in there. It's really weird. It's there's more you need to do than just trying to pull it like it's, loose wire.
Yeah. And at that point it was just like, fuck it. He's just dug a new hole. Because we also realized that like around where you'd have to dig is like leading to where the satellite thingy is, but we only needed that for cable, and we don't have cable anymore because I convinced my parents just get the streaming service that same thing owns, and it'll be like you'll be saving like $15 a month at this rate.
As
And
long
so
as you
they
only
just
keep
did
one of them
that.
active, yeah.
Yeah. And then because I think they were paying like maybe 30 or more a month for the cable thing, and that was with like bare minimum packages. And I was just like, it'll be like $15 a month if you just switch to the streaming service. So just go for that. And finally they were able to, so they disconnected the cable. And now we just need to get rid of that satellite because it's not doing anything now. But yeah.
Yeah, I know that feeling. My grandparents lived out in the middle of fucking nowhere, and they had to get a satellite eventually for cable because, trust me, little town, population 136, did not have its own cable company.
Mm-hmm.
And these were the days before internet, so that was just for them to get TV. I'm still pretty sure that town, the best you can do is dial up. Because, yeah, the little towns all along the Mississippi River that time forgot. Or that technology just left behind. And there's not like there's a business in Lynxville big enough that would, warrant them getting an in-town cable company.
The best you're probably going to have is a cell tower if you're lucky.
Where old people go to retire that can't afford to go anywhere else. It didn't used to be. I mean, there used to be like, a button factory there and a few other things, but they all went out of business in the mid-1900s. So even the fish market's gone now, so I don't even know what business is in Lynxville, if any. Other than, of course, the 4 bars. Because it's a Wisconsin town. We're not alcoholics, we're professionals.
Speaking of professionals, I'm drinking Mummy Moscato tonight.
I am drinking pink lemonade. Anyway, are we ready to start? On tonight's show, we've got birthdays. We've got one tiny piece of news. I don't even think we don't even got Big Finish, just the one tiny piece of news.
Just the one bit of news. And a couple
We've
things of Geek Talk.
We got 4 things of Geek Talk, our episode summary, our review, our final thoughts, and our ratings. So, birthdays. The first birthday was on January 29th. That would have been Friday, I think. Was the birthday of Katrin Stewart, who played Jenny Flint from 2011 to 2016, the lover/wife of Madame Vastra. She turned 33. And of course, February 1st is the birthday of Elizabeth Sladen, Sarah Jane Smith. She would have been 75, but died in 2011 at 65. Oh my God, that was 10 years ago.
AKA the reason why we do Sarah Jane every February.
Yep.
Correct.
No.
And finally, February 3rd, today, is the birthday of Warwick Davis, who played Porridge in Nightmare in Steel in 2013, but is best known in a plethora of other roles, including the Star Wars trilogy, Willow,
Leprechaun,
the Harry Potter movies. He turned 51. Actually, he had 2 roles in the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, in Star Wars, he's had like about 6 of them.
Well, yeah, he's been in at least every trilogy so far of Star Wars.
In the original trilogy, he's best known as Wicket, but he's been a lot of little roles ever since.
Yeah, but in the Harry Potter movies, he was both Professor Flitwick and the Goblin Griphook. So he actually got to be in 2 different roles in the same movie.
And the reason those Leprechaun movies lasted more than one movie is because Warwick Davis had fun.
I get to be the monster of the week. Awesome.
I get to be the monster, and I get to say these weird, silly little poems. There once was a man from Madras.
Don't even continue that, man. Okay. So the only piece of news we have is that filming on Barry Island continues. This time at Friars Point House, people have spotted a weeping angel on the set there. So it is probably still that same episode that they've been filming in Barry for like the last month or so.
Probably pickups or something.
Touch-ups, a few final scenes, whatever.
I'm guessing they don't have snow delaying the filming.
As far as I'm aware, probably not. Barry is not that far from Cardiff, so
probably not.
Looks like maybe some of the shoots weren't optimal, so they're reshooting.
Yeah, you always have to double check your footage after you're done and go, oh, we need to borrow you for another week. We already planned for this.
Should I always need to check my footage and realize whether I skipped an entire paragraph of my script?
Now, more like the lines of, the lighting was suboptimal and we're not going to be able to fix this in post, so let's see if we can get in there in a better day and do this. That kind of thing. Anyway, so that seems to be the only thing that we've heard of what's going on with Doctor Who filming. It could just be that they just needed a little more location filming. But it's wrapped up soon and they can move on to the next episode. This is, I believe, at least the 2nd or 3rd episode. Because the first one, I think, was Santarans. All right, that's it. There was no Big Finish releases. A lot of stuff coming soon, but nothing out. And the free one this week was a non-Doctor Who. So that does it for news. Onwards to the Geek Talk. First up would be me. And I wanted to talk about what I watched this week, which was season two of the anime One Punch Man. I was very fond of the first season of One Punch Man, which was back in 2015. And I think I actually talked about it here on the show.
Quite possibly.
I came back and I watched season 2, which I actually was very hard for me to find. And I am less than enthused with this one. But not entirely for the reasons that a lot of people claim. The main thing that people claim is that they changed production houses, and it comes off as very 90s Dragon Ball Z-esque fighting, which is true. A lot of fast-moving action so that you really can't see what's going on. Bill probably knows what I'm talking about. But that's not what bothered me about this. Season 1 of One Punch Man felt like an arc. It started, it built to a climax, it ended. Season 2 didn't. They introduced 2 big bad guys, one bad guy, one bad organization, and they didn't resolve either one of them.
Yeah.
So basically, it feels like this was more so set up for shit that's going to happen later, whereas the first one was just essentially standalone.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's kind of lame.
One Punch Man, I'm assuming, is adapted from a manga?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's adapted from a manga, which is adapted from a 4-koma, if I recall correctly. It was originally an internet thing. Drawn by a guy whose web name is literally One. And then another person took it, redrew it with permission, and released it in one of the major manga magazines. And it got popular enough that it became an anime.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, it's about a character named Saitama, who is in this basic world where they've got superheroes protecting cities from monsters. He has become so powerful that for the longest time, he hasn't found an enemy that he can't defeat in one punch. And he is basically feels kind of bored and hollow inside. Well, due to circumstances and the fact that he is probably the most unassuming character in the thing, he frequently doesn't get credit for what he does. So he's basically, when he decides to become a superhero, the superheroes in here have class levels, like C through A, and then there's an S class of the elites. Well, he's listed as a B class hero. Even though he's stronger than pretty much anybody else on the tiers.
But the reason he's that is because, well, he doesn't get all the credit, and because he's so powerful, they're just like, what the hell?
Yeah, and he doesn't really care that much.
Yeah, he doesn't try. He's bored of trying to be a hero, so he doesn't even try to go up the ranks. He just kind of meanders doing day to day.
So he has. Well, I guess that's a little different from gifted student syndrome, but I guess early gifted student syndrome.
He in the first season he gets this companion cyborg that acts like his disciple. And there's
the guy from the Team 4-Star skit.
Probably. And there's, a whole bunch of other characters. During the first season, you got the opinion that some of these superheroes are real assholes. A couple of them are just a couple of clicks from being supervillains themselves. Season 2, you get a little bit of that, but you mostly get to see how the Superhero Association, which deals all this, are a bunch of like stuck-up high-class idiots. Also, very little of the focus on this is on Saitama, more Genos, his cyborg friend. And you only really get to see Saitama in action maybe like 3-4 times the entire second season. Heck, for 5 episodes, he basically fucks off and goes to a martial arts competition to basically see if, because martial arts seemed vaguely interesting, and there was a big money prize reward. Literally, while everybody else is running around because all the monsters are evading every city, he's sitting here going to watch to see if he can understand martial arts, and he doesn't do that because every time there's another match, he's in the fucking bathroom. I'm just like,
So arguably, it almost kind of feels like something that might have started as like a spin-offy idea where it was focusing on a different character, and then they were like, no, just roll it into a season 2.
yeah, it kind of feels like that. Because meanwhile, Genos is out there like every other episode getting his ass kicked. So much that they've had to redesign his character 3-4 times as he's been rebuilt. You're dealing with all these other guys responding to this, some of these other S-class heroes that get their ass kicked and all this other stuff. And
this just kind of makes me think of like if there was like a spin-off to like Superman the Animated Series where you were just following Jimmy Olsen getting the shit kicked out of him.
Oh, so Silver Age comics, yes.
more like Crypto the Super Dog, but yeah. But it's like in the first episode they introduce you to this hero named King. He's supposed to be this S-class hero listed as the strongest hero alive. The truth, he's only listed that way because he's got credit for half of Saitama's kills.
So he's Mr. Satan.
Yeah, except he's not the one that's really boasting it up. He's just a geeky otaku. He's found out about it in the first episode, and he stays around through the rest of the season because he and Saitama sit around and play video games. That's kind of like, okay. It's like not really that enthused, you know? And it just comes off as kind of lackluster, and you don't get a feeling of completion like you did from the first one. And that's a real letdown. According to this, there's supposed to be a season 3 coming out this year or early next year. And I pray to God that they do better than what they did with this one.
I do recall that apparently, from what I heard when this season first came out, that they realized what material it was based on, and this wasn't the strongest material to make this season out of, if I recall correctly. So that might explain a lot of your issues.
Well, the thing is, though, they needed to choose what to focus. That martial arts fight that he was at, fucking 4 episodes out of 12. Really, they should have done that in 1, maybe 2. Because they kind of focused on it wrong. They built this character in this thing up like he was going to be a major character. Then he gets his ass handed to him, and you never see him again the rest of the season.
So the way you describe it kind of it reinforces some of the impressions I had gotten from more casual summaries, which is that it's kind of almost like a nihilistic type of storytelling, to the point where I haven't heard anything to really hook someone to make them want to watch the show or to read it.
Mind you, the first season was inspired.
Okay.
It was great.
The first season is really good.
You get this guy who's feeling nothing. He's kind of he's all depressed, and he's basically talked into joining the Superhero Association. He was still already doing the hero for kicks kind of thing, and he gets broiled up in this big ass fight. And the end fight was actually this huge ass end fight. It took 3 episodes, I think.
Okay.
So, and it felt decent. And he came out in that fight, because it was like the first fight he'd had in, he didn't remember how long, that he felt was a decent fight. And
Hmm.
so that ended on a good note. This one, it just kind of went back to blah.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
He beats a big ass monster at the end, but there's no build up. He just frickin' punches it and it goes away.
Which is the problem you have with a character who can literally just one punch anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, it took multiple punches at the end of season 1.
Oh, the first
But that
person
was-
that took multiple punches. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, this feels like something that the premise works for like a one-off standalone season, and then after that it's like, okay, what do we do now?
The thing is, they did an awful lot of world building in that first season.
Yeah, I understand there's enough material for lasting quite a while, at least in the mangas, so it's a matter of maybe they didn't know what to do for a little while, and then they got back on their feet. So maybe you got through the bad stuff now, and now you can get back into the really good stuff again, hopefully. Cross fingers.
Maybe. We'll see. This season just kind of fell flat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping if they do make a third one, that it's a lot better than this. There is a lot of humor in One Punch Man that I like. There's whole times that Saitama will blow off a fight in the original first season, like because there's a sale at the grocery store that he wants to get to before it closes. And it's just like, okay, yeah, we'll do this later, okay? And it makes it amusing because nobody else can figure him out. There was like none of that in this, so it just felt real kind of meh. We'll see if season 3 comes out, what it's about.
Oh. All right, moving on then.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, we get into some movies. So first, Texas
Yep.
Chainsaw 2.
Yep. It is so funny to me that I ultimately realized after watching this that this is a scenario like Alien and Aliens where I like both for completely different reasons to a point, because, you know, the first movie is just straight up horror, and this is leaning more into comedy to a point. Like dark humor. There is some more sort of lighthearted humor here and there, but for the most part, it's very dark humor. And you know, it's funny because I feel like this actually affected me more when stuff was tense than the first one did. And that's probably just because Stretch, the main character, is actually interesting instead of it just being a van full of random teenagers. It's like we set up who Stretch is as a person and then shit goes haywire. Yeah, honestly, I really enjoy this. It was interesting realizing after the fact, I think, that this movie was like got very mixed reactions when it came out, but mostly seemed to be negative. At least critical reception was mostly negative, seemingly. And then like it's gained a cult following over time, because I was just like, I really enjoyed the hell out of this. I don't know why people were thinking that it was either too silly or whatever. Like it worked for me. I mean, like Dennis Hopper running around with chainsaws, just trying to bring this whole place that the Sawyer family is hiding out in down is pretty funny though. Because I'm also just like, wait a minute, you're a former like Texas Ranger or whatever the fuck. Why are you coming at them with chainsaws and not guns?
Because he's a
Seems
loon.
a bit, yeah. But it's like, whatever. And the idea is like Dennis Hopper's character is like the uncle of two of the characters that died in the first movie. Oh, one that did, the other that survived. And he's like out for revenge on them, and he's been trying to track them ever since or whatever, because this came out in 86 and the first movie came out in like 73 or 74. I think it's set in
74.
73. Yeah. So it's been like, more over a decade, and he's just like still obsessed with this. Um, yeah, his character's really fun. The Sawyers are really fun. Yeah, like there is a really fucking tense scene with some of them. I can see why people enjoy the character Chop Top, who was invented for this movie. Apparently because the actor who played him, Bill Moseley, uh did like his own little fan film of Texas Chainsaw Massacre where he played the hitchhiker or something. And like that made its way through to Toby Hooper, so he cast him in this when this got made.
Hmm.
I guess generally, yeah, I really enjoyed the hell out of this, and also I found it really hilarious that there's a song at one point that kicks in, and I'm like, hang on, this sounds really familiar. And then I remembered where I could place it from, because there's the song No One Lives Forever by Oingo Boingo is featured in this movie. It's also featured in Casper, A Spirited Beginning, a direct-to-video movie from the fucking 90s. Which was like, okay, that's
Well.
kind of a hilarious connection to make.
Is that Oingo Boingo or Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo?
It's 80s, so it would have been just Oingo Boingo.
Okay, so it's after
Yeah.
they embraced New Wave. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I was just like, this sounds so familiar, and then I like ended up realizing, oh, that's why, because it was in a movie I'd seen as a kid. And yeah, like I would definitely say this is worth a shot. It's also kind of funny because I feel like people refer to Mick Foley's persona Mankind in WWF/E as having a Hannibal Lecter style mask. It kind of looks more like the mask from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 that Leatherface is wearing. But yeah, that was just something I picked up on.
Kind of a mix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, like overall, I would just say it's worth giving a shot anyway. It's like, to me, it's really entertaining, and there's a friggin' chainsaw fight. Like, how can you not?
How can you not
enjoy that? Yeah. So moving on from that to
part 3,
the much more maligned Leatherface Texas Chainsaw 3, and honestly, I didn't think this was that bad. Like, I've seen worse. Like, this is one of those things where, like, I agree with the video about it that I watched after, that a horror channel did, where they were like, I mean, it's bad, but it's not as bad as the next movie. But yeah, like it's not that bad. Viggo Mortensen's in it, which was kind of hilarious watching this now and not like prior to Lord of the Rings. um and it's kind of funny to think that he'd end up in that after this. But yeah, it's kind of funny because like I feel like this movie is one of these things where you can tell a major studio is behind this, and in this case it's New Line. Which I guess is also funny since they did the Lord of the Rings
like
movie.
all of Slasherdom by this point, I think.
Oh yeah, this is
not
they
quite.
did they
in terms of the main franchises.
They like they had Nightmare on Elm.
They definitely had Nightmare on Elm Street
from the start. This was the only Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie they made. And by now they had either by now or slightly after they gained control of the Friday the 13th franchise.
What year was
they had
this
those
made?
3 at one point. 1990.
It wouldn't be for like another 5 to 8 years before they would have Friday the 13th under their belt.
Jason Goes to Hell, which was New Line, was 93.
Oh, was it only 93? I thought that was like at least 95.
Yeah. So not
you might be thinking Jason X.
I thought Jason X was closer to 2000s.
Yeah, that was like 2003-ish. Oh no, wait, no.
More like actually 2000.
Or 1, yeah.
Maybe 99.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, like this is and like again, it's like it's not bad, but you can see the major studio influence of like suddenly we've got like we have no returning Sawyers because spoiler, this movie kind of has to avoid ch- being a direct follow on from 2 because they pretty much all die in that. So we've got new Sawyer family members, a different actor playing Leatherface, which I don't think there's ever been a consistent actor playing Leatherface
Not that
outside
I'm
of
aware of.
No, they're
outside of
usually too
the
far
guy.
apart.
Yeah, the guy who played him in the reboot on the remake movies, that was the same actor, but that like after that, the next thing along it changes again. So yeah, but yeah, it's like I don't know, like I guess it was interesting to add a kid to the Sawyer family that's actually like as fucked up as they are. Was like kind of interesting. Although it's implied heavily that it's Leatherface's kid, which implies that Leatherface raped a woman at some point. And it's like, I don't want to have to think about
Eh,
that movie. Um,
Yeah.
Especially because that means they had to keep her alive for her to deliver the kid. So it's like, God knows what the fuck happened there. It's like, okay. Um, and like, yeah, it's like, and the fact that he gets like this custom gold plated chainsaw, and it's like, why? This is so
Oh,
stupid. I'm like,
90s.
yeah, it's like it's so like, ah, yes, this will be an iconic piece of movie history, and it's like, no, it makes it feel better when he's just using something you could really go into a store and get than just making this massive prop that has "the saw is family" written on it, and it's like, what the fuck? You can kind of tell why this was the only one they ever did, I think. Then maybe they had a hand in the remake, but I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. I think that was a
'Cause
Platinum
that was
Dunes
yeah,
thing.
that was Platinum Dunes, yeah. So like this was the only one they did, then it got palmed off to someone else and then Platinum Dunes. So it's like, yeah, they just went, well, fuck it, and dropped it. um Yeah, like I mean, I like that Ken Foray's character survived. That was nice. Apparently, in the original cut, he didn't. But
Mm.
it's like people actually like him, so let's recut it. So he
Let's
lives.
recut with some of the footage where he does survive. Yay!
Yeah. um, but yeah, like again, it's like I can take it or leave it. If people really are curious, I'd say check it out. But you could avoid this if you wanted to and just stick to the first two.
Hmm.
I have no intention of watching the next generation because I've heard that is utter shit. I do not want to waste my time unless I want to watch like possibly coked out of his mind Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, I would suggest just getting drunk and watching it, and you'll have a giggle.
Hmm.
That's my theory on that. So you good on that then?
Yep.
Okay, actually, it goes to me then. So for the last bit, I think. Unless someone else had something.
Nope, it's you.
All right, so I just finished playing Doom 64. The original version did come out on the Nintendo 64 in '97. The version I played has the Lost Levels add-on, which was released last year in time for the release of Doom Eternal. The Lost Levels are actually made by the current Doom developers and were to help aid in this being a tie-in to the new run of the franchise. The basic story of Doom 64 is that you're still the Space Marine from the first two games. You are the Doom Slayer. And what's going on is that you were finally starting to retire on Earth. Everything else has been finally solved, and you actually did make it back. But as Earth is rebuilding again, they start detecting strange power sources out in space between Earth and Mars, and they decide that they need to send out Marines to once again clear up all the mess before something else happens. So you are once more sent to the surface of Mars. You are the last Marine still alive and kicking, and you go in there and do your thing. At the end of the original, I believe it's something like 20 some levels, your character, the Doomslayer, decides that he's going to actually stay in hell and continue to fight the good fight because he just wants. Not only is slaying his thing, and it's foolish of him to think he'll ever get away from it, but he also believes that as long as he stays there, he can prevent any more hassles coming to Earth. The additional lost levels decide that the demons had another plan for backup for the end boss of the game, and that there's something that they have set up to remake that same head honcho demon again. So in order to get you away, the demons do try to teleport you away, but you continue your slaughter to get back to them once more and put an end to this new rebirth plan. And doing so, you shrug it off and go, "Oh well, I'm back to where I wanted to be in the first place. I'm still going to retire here for the rest of my life and just keep slaying." And that's
Mind you, the phrase, the name Doomslayer was actually not in the vernacular back then. He was just known as the Space Marine.
Yeah, he's only known as the Space Marine. It is the more recent games that have dubbed him the Doomslayer.
I remember for a while mostly hearing people refer to him as Doom Guy.
Doom Guy was a fan name for him.
Right. Well, yeah, definitely not.
That was also never an official name.
Yeah.
He was simply the Space Marine. And then, of course, Halo released Master Chief, and the guys at ID said, we should really give this guy a name. Because people kept getting the two characters confused.
Mm. Well, one of them kills aliens and doesn't afraid of anything. The other one kills demons and doesn't afraid of anything.
Well, some of those demons are also have cybernetic implants and look like they're monstrosities from space themselves. So.
Yeah, but especially in the more recent games, they both run around in full body armor with visored helmets, and the only real difference is one is green and I think the other one's blue.
Oh no, they're both green armored.
Okay, so there's literally no difference between them other than their loadouts.
Other than their loadouts and how much they can carry. Your weak, limp-wristed, typical Halo main character can only hold 2 weapons. Meanwhile, the Doom Marine has at least, I would say, 12 weapons in his arsenal at any given time. Technically, you got number 1 button, which is both chainsaw or fist. 2 is pistol. 3 is shotgun and super shotgun. 4 is minigun.
Are these like chest-mounted weapons or like Dr. Octopus arms?
As far as we know he just has pocket space somewhere. Some international pocket space where he literally puts a BFG.
As far as we know, he just has a very big ass. He just pulls them all out of there. I've just pulled a BFG right out of my ass.
Makes a farting noise as you pull it out.
The funny thing is, that's almost kind of counts as a Doctor Who reference. And that's RTD's fault, doubled down by Chibnall.
Yep. Yeah, just everything. He has the everything on him at all times. If you've picked it up, you have it. And as long as you have ammo for it, you can always pull it out and shoot something in the fucking face with it.
Unless you have a berserk pack, in which case you're just going to punch them to death.
Yeah, in which case, as long as it's not too big, you can instant punch it and kill it with just your fist. I will say that was one thing I was mildly annoyed about, is that I would frequently hit berserker packs in Doom 64, and anything above a Coca Demon would not instantly fall, and that's usually what I ran into as soon as I got a Berserker pack. So it's like, oh, great, I got a Berserker pack for no reason. Go right back to the Super Shotgun and start dodging. Anyway, ending this real quick, I will say the gameplay very much plays like a decent version of 1-2. WASD, mouse, and number keys are all you need to fight the demon hordes. I will also say, though, that the last level of original Doom 64 is really, really freaking annoying. Because I didn't find out until after I got there that apparently there's like 6 different things hidden throughout the game beforehand that would make the last battle super easy, but I was never told this until I looked it up.
Was length an issue? Because if I recall, when this was released back in the day, it was lambasted for how short it was.
I finished this with extra levels in 9 hours.
How long did it take you to do Doom 2?
I can look that up really quick. Doom 2, enter. I do happen to have that page up right now. Oh, that's Doom 64, Doom 2016. Doom 2. Wait. Oh, actually, it was numeral 2. Sorry. Just a second. I can fix this. Okay, yeah, it actually is reasonably shorter than Doom 2. Doom 2 took me 28 hours. Actually,
Yeah.
no, wait. I actually separated those out by level. So if I was to combine them and it takes me roughly about 20 minutes a level, it could be almost the same.
Because I remember it was blasted for being exceedingly short, and mostly because they were trying to fit it on an N64 cartridge.
Yeah, if I separate, it looks like I separated these mostly by level, and if I did that, do that, then that means with the extended levels, it's roughly 3 or 4 levels longer than Doom 2.
Though from what I hear, if it came out more recently, then games apparently now are more beat it in a few hours and then play multiplayer forever.
There's no multiplayer, at least not that I'm aware of.
Oh,
I tried
it's true.
looking.
Yeah, I was thinking shooters in general, but yeah, that's
No.
I don't think Doom usually has multi. Well, maybe the new one. I don't know.
The new 2016 did have multiplayer, and apparently some people really liked it.
Traditionally, Doom doesn't have multiplayer because multiplayer Doom was functionally Quake.
Yeah.
Right.
If you want multiplayer in Doom, you just went to Quake.
Yep. No, but I remember back when this came out, because this is the re-release of an N64 game, Bill. At the time, and everybody that was reviewing it's just like, don't bother getting it.
Yeah, well, what I mean is, what was short in the N64 days is probably pretty long in 2021.
Yeah, but we're comparing it to Doom 2, which was
which is a game
PC
that came before it, and I would say without the lost levels, it maybe was 2 levels shorter than Doom 2.
Okay.
So it wasn't that much shorter.
I remember
that sounds to me like people looking for a reason to bellyache, to be honest.
I don't know. All I know is that it stopped me from getting it.
I actually heard that the controls were really clunky because it was on the N64. Which,
that
again, porting it out to PC, that cures all that issue.
I don't know. All I remember was I got the reviews, don't get it. They were talking about compressed graphics and...
Oh, and that might be another thing, too, is that they maybe... I think from what I saw, they did improve the graphics a little bit, too. At least the lighting.
Doom traditionally is a PC series, right? Was 64 the first on console?
Nope. The original Doom released on Super Nintendo and Game Boy Color.
Yeah, and those were
I
garbage.
I had both of those, and I never...
Actually, not Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance.
Oh, I never had Advance.
Yeah,
but Super Nintendo had the original Doom. I actually have the cartridge. I'm looking at it right here from here. I could tell it's the right one because it's the red cartridge.
And it was garbage.
Not that I recall.
Compared to the PC version, yeah, it was.
What was garbage about it?
It didn't have all the functionality. It didn't have all of the graphics took a hit on the Super Nintendo.
Everything took a hit going to consoles back then.
Oh, yeah.
At least a pinch. At least it's not the Sega Genesis version of the game. Holy shit, the audio took a hit.
Well, yeah, that's because the frickin' Sega Genesis had 2 8-bit audio processor chips that they then claimed was 16-bit. Yeah, that's why that's why unless you were a freaking brilliant person, all Sega sounds were garbage. The
Yeah, they
thing is,
probably didn't have time.
then Sega hired some brilliant people, which is why you got Sonic music and Phantasy Star and that kind of stuff.
Well,
But
that's because the first party company spent enough time and money to make sure that they could actually make it sound good.
yeah, everybody else that tried to port got bleep, bloop, bleep, bleep, bloop. Yeah. They got trash.
Anyway,
Still with, yep.
but anyway, yeah, I highly recommend the PC port. I agree that I've heard that there are issues with Doom 64 on the actual N64, but I'm not sure what all the actual issues were off the top of my head. But I will say I didn't hate this any more than Doom 2, so outside of that one final boss in the original game being a massive hard piece of work to the point that I almost actually did give up. In my infinite rage, I ran out there with the BFG and just started hammering it and then hammered it with rockets and finally won before I died, and the game still counted it as a win. That's how I won. But yeah, I'd still recommend it. It gets very challenging at points, but it's still not any more frustrating than some of the other older Doom games, and they've done some stuff to tie it to the new stuff. So if you're interested, it's worth a peek. So I guess that's done with Geek Talk. So I believe it's Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thomas for the summary. Are you ready? Thomas? He's muted.
I honestly forgot why I muted myself.
Are you ready?
Must have done it by accident. Yep, I'm ready.
All right, start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, we open on some kids playing UK football, only for one of the kids to be snatched up by an evil clown. After a brief conversation with Sarah Jane about Luke missing Maria, we find out about someone moving in next door, which turns out to be the Chandra family. When Luke and Clyde run into Rani Chandra and later her father, Haresh, who turns out to be the new headmaster of their high school. Later, after Clyde gets into trouble, he notices a kid called Finney seems to have vanished into thin air and also sees the clown. But when he tries to tell Mr. Chandra about it, he obviously doesn't believe him, and we later find out that Rani has been seeing the clown as well, and they figure out anyone who had a ticket the clown was handing out seems to be disappearing. Sarah Jane and Clyde go to investigate the Museum of the Circus that the tickets are for and meet a man called Elijah Spellman, only for Rani and Luke to show up and as well, and the clown mannequins suddenly come to life and try to catch them all, but Sarah Jane manages to disable them with her sonic lipstick, only for the front doors to be sealed. Spellman then confronts the group and reveals himself to be an alien entity that took the form of the Pied Piper and is also the clown they've been seeing using the name Odd Bob. They manage to escape when he tries to attack them, only for Rani to getting a call, somehow interfering with his powers and allowing them to escape, with Ryan deciding to join the team when given the choice. It's discovered that a meteorite crashed to Earth a year before the Pied Piper is said to have shown up, and Sarah Jane goes to the Pharos Institute to collect a sample of the meteorite for analysis, only to be confronted and threatened by Spellman / Oddbob. Suddenly back at the school, a bunch of balloons start floating down, and it's realized that the children who grab them fall under his control, with Ronnie, Luke, and Clyde following after them. Mr. Smith's analysis reveals that Spellman is an energy-based entity that feeds off fear, hence all he's done so far. Sarah Jane then uses Mr. Smith to call all of the children at once on their phones, freeing them of Spellman's grasp, who takes Luke to get back at them. Sarah Jane opts to go in alone, locking Ronnie and Clyde out of the building. Sarah Jane confronts Odd Bob, who reveals is trapped in a sort of limbo dimension, and then eventually he would cease to exist. as would all the other kids trapped in there. But Ronnie and Clyde come in and use jokes and laughter to weaken him enough that Sarah Jane realizes she can trap him in the meteorite fragment she still has, freeing Luke and the rest of the kids who were taken within the past couple of weeks, confusing Ronnie's parents. We then end with Luke and Clyde going over to the Chandra house to have dinner with them, while Sarah Jane goes back into her house alone. The end.
You did it in 2 minutes, 57 seconds.
I'd be kind of disappointed if it had taken me over 3 minutes in a way, considering it's only 2 episodes.
Well, as much as there is going on in a 2-episode story like this, it does simplify rather easily.
Yeah, it's not a complex plot, and it's not a complex plot that they're filling an hour.
Yeah.
That, and I don't think you went into detail about the conflict between Ronnie's father and Clyde.
Yeah. It was like if it was character stuff, I was like, well, this isn't relevant to the plot,
Right.
so I don't really need to summarize it.
Okay, so let's talk about what we liked about the serial. Matt.
Of course, it picks me first. What I like overall about the cereal.
It stayed crunchy in milk.
I think we've mentioned this before, but once again, I like the fact that this is a show that can get really creepy stuff going for it, and it doesn't pull back on the punches. This is stuff that would probably scare the hell out of little kids, as it's meant for.
Yeah, like I think we've discussed before that the thing that works so well about Sarah Jane Adventures is that it's going for an old Who tone rather than a modern kids show tone.
Kind of, sorta, and that in that respect, it doesn't pull any punches, but at least gives you a happy ending of some sort by the time it's done.
Yeah,
which is something I can definitely respect it for.
All right, Bill.
So I'm going to say Bradley Walsh as Pennywise. First off, if I didn't know going into this that it was him, I would not have been able to link that to his performance as Graham because it's so distinct. Secondly, he basically plays 3 distinct characters here, all with their own body language, accent, and makeup. And I had to double check to make sure they were all played by the same actor because the acting
Actually, I
is
didn't
that
notice it at
good.
first, but now that you mention it again, that is Graham, isn't it?
Yep.
He had different colored hair back then.
Oh yeah, he was a lot younger back then.
Well, I mean, his
It
hair
was
is different
almost
from
10
scene
years
to
ago.
scene, so I don't know which one was if either of them were the natural.
The
sure he
closest
didn't
to
have
natural
bright
I
red
can see
hair.
is the version where he's the top hat man.
Mm-hmm.
So now imagine Bradley Walsh in a rendition of it. I mean, actually, factually playing Pennywise.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say he could do a pretty good job if given the chance.
If given the chance and the right script, yeah, he probably could do it.
I mean, he's doing an all right sort of, I don't know what US accent he's going for as Oddbob.
I just realized we were talking about things that reminds us of. I feel like his clown portrayal here reminds me a little bit of the clown from Spawn, Violator clown.
Yeah.
Like the
Kinda,
accent
sorta.
and the really creepy, slimy guy he goes for with that role.
And Thomas, the accent was kind of mixed Southern.
Right.
It was a bit Texas, a bit Deep South. But considering the fact that the character was basically a traveling carny, you actually frequently got mixed accents
to begin with, so it's actually not unapt.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to the accent usually used by carnival folk in other like American Horror Story or Heroes or whatever.
Yep. Because they would tour around the South, and that's like from Texas to South Carolina and back. Down to Florida, up to Wisconsin, so they would get this whole muddling of their accent. Especially if they were Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey,
Yep.
who would go down to Florida for the winter and then
And
up
then
as
come up
far.
north for the summer.
Yeah. So yeah, he probably did a very good job of that. So are we up to Thomas now?
Yep.
We don't know this is the first round, and you have the dice.
Well, me and you went, so.
Yeah.
Oh
so
yeah,
it's
good point.
up to
There's
me,
only
yeah.
4 of us, and one of us is always last.
Who could it be?
But yeah. Of course, now I've got to
I
remember what
take
my
that
backup
role
was.
to let all of y'all steal my stuff.
I guess I'll just go with the how they introduce Ronnie and how they handle her in this. It's like it makes perfect sense that this character would actually stick around. And they do acknowledge that, like, you know, the whole thing of Luke being like, well, no, it's not the same because he's not used to change and all that. And stuff, and just how she handles it, and it's like, wow, she immediately fits into this. It's like, it was one of those weird things rewatching this where I'm like, if they ever did a new show like this, I would kind of want them to get that actress back and just have her in the lead as like the Sarah Jane stand-in sort of role.
That's basically what they're aiming for with her
Because
to
it would
begin with.
fit. Yeah.
If she ever stops playing monsters and robots.
Whatever she likes to play. If she's fine with sticking to Monster of the Week, that's her shtick.
Speaking of which, apparently in the Nikola Tesla episode, Bradley Walsh didn't recognize her in her makeup. He couldn't figure out it was the same person.
Just seemed kind of familiar somehow.
And it's an interesting reversal there too, because she was playing the monster, he was playing the companion. So we're up to me now?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to choose a weird one here. I was going to say I didn't have one because I have my issues with this story, but they're personal. But I will say this. I do like the fact that they didn't try to go for some dramatic tension with Ronnie's parents like they did with Maria's.
Yes.
Because Maria's mother was a horrible character. I'm not saying anything about the actress.
Yeah.
The character was horrible.
She was divisive as all get out as a character.
If I remember every episode she was in, at least one person picked her as the least favorite part of the episode.
Now,
the EC, the one that grabbed the groan about, yes.
I think they might have had some long-term plans to rehabilitate the character, but of course she only lasted one season, so none of it came to fruition.
Yeah, and by the sounds of it, that was because the actress playing Maria wanted to go back to her studies. So which is why Ronnie is introduced in the second episode of the second story in series 2 instead of the first one, which was The Last Sontaran.
Yep. So it just makes this a lot better that you do not have to deal with this idiot, clueless Jackie but worse character.
Yeah, how you make a less likable Jackie is an interesting.
Yeah, like even to that extent, it's nice that they make it clear that the dad is a hard ass at work, but he's fairly chill otherwise for the most part. Like, he's not a hard ass 24/7.
Yeah, did he go all Captain Bligh on you?
Oh yeah.
See, if I had been Clyde at there, my response would have been, "Yeah, he did," and I'm apparently Moby Dick. I would have said it. It technically wouldn't be right because that's Captain Ahab, but you would have gotten the, considering Clyde's education level.
But Clyde was too busy pretending that he didn't know about things.
That is technically true too. He always did struggle between being as trying to be smart in his own streetwise way or being trying to pretend to be a cool kid.
Right.
All right. So, what we disliked, Matt.
What we disliked.
Remember, if you don't have anything, you can pass.
Yeah, I'm trying to think really quick. Was there anything that particularly bothered me? Honestly, I can't think of anything that really bothered me. The only thing I can maybe slightly nitpick on is that maybe the end of it was a little too easy, but that's about the only thing I can really think of, and it's not even much to go on there. Just that it seemed a little too easy.
All right. Bill?
I'm trying to remember what I had originally planned to say, and I'm not remembering that. But what I will say kind of felt like it started getting repetitive and a little annoying after a while was that they returned so many times to trying to keep Ronnie out of it. Like I would say about half the amount they included I would have gotten because they really don't want to bring in a new person. They want her to, be normal. But like I feel like 50% of the dialogue when she and Sarah Jane were both on screen together, and sometimes when they weren't on screen together, was devoted to trying to keep her out of it. And I'm like, okay, we get that. We get that you don't want her involved. We get that she wants to be involved. Can we please move on now?
I think it would have been better if they devoted that time to like one of, the first time they're all kind of agreed, yeah, she shouldn't be getting involved. Then the second time, she manages to convince Clyde, and so Clyde becomes there. And then the second time, or the third time, they manage to convince Clyde and Sarah Jane.
Right.
With then Luke being the only holdout because of his I don't like change.
Yeah.
But Luke was so unassertive that she kind of just dragged him into the plot anyway.
Yeah. Like I think it's
like, yeah, you don't have to go to the plot, but I'm going to the plot. And he's like, well, I guess I'm following you.
Yeah. Poor Luke. Just gets dragged along.
Yeah. Like I get what you mean in the sense that it feels like after she's been given the option, okay, do you want in on this or not? And she says yes. That after that, Sarah Jane should have like just knocked it off.
Then it came
but
up
then
at least twice more after that. And
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
We're past that point now. Please move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. One wonders if maybe some of those scenes were outplaced or something.
Or yeah, maybe.
Or they just didn't catch how
or maybe they just didn't catch how that was coming off in the writing. There's a possibility, I suppose, but.
All right, Thomas, how about you? What did you dislike?
Honestly, the only thing I think I really could have come up with, Bill went with, so I'm just gonna pass.
Okay. I didn't like the clowns. I'll just say it.
You are one of the people who are uneased by clowns. The most.
I used to be fucking afraid of them. Now they just make me uneasy and disturbed. And
so not in the sense that they're a bad villain, but just that they're too effective for you.
Yes. Yeah, like I said, it's a personal issue.
Yeah.
I don't like clowns. They creep me the fuck out. I did actually have to walk away from the video like I would have when I was younger. But I'm still kind of like,
Yeah. So basically, the sort of clown autons at one point would have freaked you the fuck out. As a
Oh
kid.
God, yes. The clown autons, I would have been fucking hysterical. I would have stopped watching this, and I probably wouldn't have continued.
Open out the door.
Yeah.
I will say that I apparently had a history teacher. I didn't realize it when he was my teacher. Apparently, he saw killer clowns from outer space when he was extremely young. When they decided to play the It serial from the 90s as just kind of like a filler for like our last day of school, he literally had to leave the room.
Yeah, clowns can really fuck people over.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I had the benefit of watching it and Greatest Show in the Galaxy like virtually back to back, and probably a rewatch of Poltergeist around that same time, and I couldn't stand clowns for a few years after that. So this would have absolutely messed with my head. Then that fear of clowns was replaced by a fear of spiders. But that's a different story. And that one's mostly under control now.
Mostly.
I still don't like big spiders, or I don't like them anywhere near me, but I can look at them now.
Mostly come out at night, mostly.
I do freak out when I'm sitting in the dark and they run across my frickin' computer screen, but who wouldn't?
Yeah.
All right. Favorite scene?
Oh, favorite scene.
Oh, wait. I did have one more thing I disliked. Clyde's jokes were terrible.
Well, they were all dad jokes, and that was the reason why they were at least somewhat amusing.
I mean, they do kind of acknowledge that, like, even Ronnie's like, I told him to be funny. And he was like, what? I was.
Yeah.
Yes, but you see them all laughing at them, and I'm like, I couldn't laugh at those if I tried. It also would have been funnier if not just Ronnie, but Sarah Jane had gotten into it. I would have loved to hear Sarah Jane, how many Daleks does it take to screw in a light bulb?
And I mean, Sarah Jane
One to exterminate.
I don't know if I would say she was a funny companion, but she definitely considered herself to be a funny companion.
Who did?
Sarah Jane. Like, she laughed as much as Clyde when she was on the TARDIS, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely see her getting into that and, like, clicking with his sense of humor even.
I don't know. It was a bad sense of humor. That was my problem. They were just that bad of jokes. They were groaners, not laughers. Like I said, I would have loved to hear her tell some jokes, like how many Daleks does it take to screw in a light bulb? 2. 1 to change the light bulb, 2 to exterminate anyone else in the room.
Why did the Cyberman cross the road?
Normally I would say to get to the other side, but
to upgrade, because upgrading is compulsory.
To upgrade the chicken? Okay.
Upgrade the chicken.
Okay.
All right, yeah, favorite scene. Actually, that was a good. I don't want to say that was my favorite. You know what? I think I'm going to go with. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm still gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with Sarah Jane confronting Bob, if you will, and managing to save most of the school by making a plan with Mr. Smith. It was literally a plan I didn't see coming, and as soon as they started it, I'm like, oh shit! You know what? Of course, kids back then had cell phones.
It was 10 years ago. It should be.
Yeah, at
Hmm.
least roughly most kids did back then. Heck, 10
Hmm.
years ago, I even finally had a cell phone. So yeah, it totally made perfect sense, and since we saw that it somehow messed with the signal, yeah, bingo. Of course, it's so simple. I didn't even think of that.
All right, Bill.
So the humor or lack thereof notwithstanding, I liked the idea of that scene, the way that they took. Oh yeah, humor diffuses the fear in the room and breaks his source of energy.
Well,
So,
Hmm.
like I mentioned before the stream, it's the Boggart solution.
yeah.
Yeah.
Boggart shakes the shape of the thing you fear most. How do you defeat it? Laughter.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I would have loved
See
it.
now,
I would have loved to have had somebody say, "Let's Harry Potter this," but no.
shit, yeah, and that was out already.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
At least some of it was.
but yeah, I do think in context it made perfect sense. It was effective. Um, and yeah, it was a good solution. I do kind of think they could have done another scene to kind of lead into that a little better, unless there's one that I missed. But I think the scene itself was solid. Um, as much as it would have been hilarious if just he couldn't get people to laugh and somebody else had to join him.
All right, Thomas.
um. Let's see. I guess the God, I was going between two. I think I'll just go with this one. The Hall of Mirrors scene, where like right near the end of it, where he's just like the whole, um, the mother's fear for a child thing. It's like the strongest fear of all, and she just like, yeah, fuck you, and breaks and just uses the sonic lipstick to shatter the mirrors so she can get out. Um, it was like you can really just kind of feel the like she plays that the fear of that really well.
Yeah,
Okay, so I think my favorite scene was the scene in the very beginning where he abducts the boy playing football,
Mm.
and it just was very reminiscent of it, and it managed to get the feeling as well. That level of creepiness.
Mm.
I mean, he wasn't talking to a clown in a storm drain, but it
Mm.
was still that
hmm
level of not knowing what was going on,
Mm.
and you're like, "Oh, he's going to get it." You knew it. You were just
Yeah.
waiting for it.
Yeah. Um.
Hiya,
Yeah. Like.
yeah.
Yeah. Like the other scene I was probably gonna go with was just like the last thing we see, where it's just I don't know, like it seems to work so well without saying anything in dialogue that like they've all gone off to chat and have dinner, and Sarah Jane's just opted to be the loner. Um, going back into a house alone. It's like I don't know, something about that just is like, yeah, that works really well. Like that kind of sums the character up at this point. She
It
doesn't
does.
want to make more connections because she knows she could very easily lose these people.
All right, let's talk about least favorite scene.
Oh, least favorite scene. Um, I guess I'm going to go actually with the um it was interesting at first, but the in particular the moment in the sequence in the bathroom where Bob tries to reach out with the balloon.
Mm.
Mm.
The effect was kind of starting to reach Mickey being swallowed by a plastic bin levels. And they obviously try to keep that bit as short as possible because it wasn't quite working.
Mm.
But to have it creeping on the other side of a mirror and maybe done another trick with it somehow to spook people with would have been a little bit better in my opinion.
Or I guess just show like the hand coming through holding the balloon, but not the
Or
actual
actually,
effect
what
of it
would have
coming
been
through the
better is
mirror.
if you had like a flat camera angle where you just get solid wall and maybe just a little bit of the frame of the mirror, and then you just see the arm reaching through somehow. That might have been a more practical and better done effect, maybe. But yeah, the weird CG for the arm going through the mirror was not working for me.
Yeah, I know what they were trying to capture. There was the scene in the original It series where Pennywise tries to reach out of a photograph.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get that scene, and they
And you know what? I think Animaniacs did that in a mirror too. Come to think of it.
There's been a lot of scenes like that throughout many different things, and yeah, this one just doesn't quite work.
Are you talking new Animaniacs with their Pennywise parody?
Yeah.
Yeah, they might have done a mirror with that. I don't remember. Anyway, Bill, your least favorite scene.
So I think I'm going to go with, and I don't know if this character really has an arc of becoming more likable, and this may not necessarily be bad writing per se, but it's just something that really makes me not like, particularly dislike the character to the point of thinking he's being irrational. Is the scene where Ronnie's father is pissed off that Clyde is in the bathroom. Because just because someone's waiting outside your office doesn't mean they don't have to pee once in a while. And I went through the American school system too, so I know that school systems don't have to be rational and make sense when it comes to people using the bathroom and think that children have bladders of steel. But even still, I was just like, "Are you fucking kidding me, man? He's in the bathroom. Sometimes people need to use the bathroom when they're waiting."
Also, remember that this isn't the American school system. It's
no, but I was using that as a comparison of, I understand ridiculous school administration, but it's still gonna piss me off.
Yeah,
because the American school system's just as bad when it comes to that shit.
Yeah, but headmasters in the British school system are supposed to be hard as fuck. It's tradition. I don't know.
It's a tradition they've been starting to knock down, to be honest, because it's not led to any help.
Right? Yeah, it doesn't improve results, and especially when you're yelling at people for having bladders.
Yeah, like the only thing I could get for him maybe not is like if he legitimately needed to go to the toilet, he would have probably knocked on the door and let him know, and then bug it off so he knew where he was going. Which I could definitely see, but again, like I could see them being legitimately that pissed, because some principals and headmasters and shit can just be assholes, and teachers in general, really. But yeah.
I guess I'm lucky that most teachers I had while going through school weren't like that.
Right. And it's part of like if this was a character that was revealed to be a monster.
Be just a moment. It's taking a moment. I think it's Discord again.
It's
Soften,
almost the
yeah.
entire kind of antagonistic
Yeah.
relationship that
Right.
they're
Mm.
trying to get,
Here we go.
and then
Yeah.
try to soften it as it goes on.
Yeah. Though
Mhm.
again, by comparison, when he's outside of his work environment, he seems to be a lot more chill. By comparison, like
Yeah,
he's
and
still got something against Clyde, but he's not as hard on him outside of school compared to when he's
Well,
at school.
and at least at this point, they're also hinting at a romantic attraction between Clyde and Ronnie, at least on Clyde's part, anyway. You saw how he immediately reacted upon first seeing
Mhm.
Ronnie.
Yeah.
I think he's that way anytime he meets a new girl.
To some
Probably.
degree,
But, I
yeah.
mean, but this is one that's actually a main character. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you were the principal / headmaster of a school. How would you like it if the class clown was sniffing around your daughter? Okay, Thomas, are we at you?
Yep. Honestly, the only thing I could really think of is when they're I think it's not the first time, but like after when Clyde is talking to Luke about having seen the clown, and then they see him outside the school and chase after him. I feel like the chase after him goes on a bit longer than it really should have.
It does.
Like when they get to that initial intersection bit within all those buildings, I feel like it should have just stopped there. Instead of going on for like what felt like another minute or so.
More like 4. It did go on too long. It went on. I agree with you. Because it didn't really accomplish anything to the plot.
So which scene were you saying?
That was when
Like-
Luke and Clyde were chasing the clown. Or
Yeah. Back when Luke still couldn't see it, and they like Clyde was just leading him along on a chase,
Right.
and they kept missing.
Admittedly, by the last
clown.
swing of that particular chase, he was fine seeing them.
But it was they could have developed that a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And instead they drug it on for a while. I don't know if they were just trying to make time or what, but
Yeah.
it just felt like it went on forever.
It might have been a thing where maybe it was tighter and earlier stuff, but then they cut stuff out maybe. So they like just went, well, we've got all this footage of them running around. We'll just add more.
Ugh. Anyway, that takes me to me. What'll come a surprise to no one. What I didn't like was the whole attack of the clowns. But not just because they gave me the frickin' heebie-jeebies, but because it was a very Auton moment.
Yeah, because they weren't really something else. It really did feel like it was almost on Auton levels.
Yeah, it felt like that. It felt like you were seeing the Autons all over again. The way they moved, the way they did stuff was very Auton-like. So I thought, that was kind of a red herring that shouldn't have been there.
I feel like the one thing that almost confused me a bit is that one did look a bit too much like, oh, this is very clearly just a person done up like a clown, walking like a robot, compared to others having full
Oh yeah, there's like one that had
faces,
like
so
a
you
weird
couldn't
kind of
tell
like
as much.
half face mask thing. Which I suppose the underneath was supposed to be a dummy, but still was very obviously an actor.
Yeah, it didn't come off nice. It's still creeping the fuck out because it's guys in clown paint doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird that I have tiers of clowns that I dislike more than others. Because, the traditional opera style clown doesn't half as bother me as the American rodeo or circus clown. Hell, I have, I watch videos from a guy called Puddle's Pity Party.
Oh yeah, Puddles is great.
Yeah, and he dresses up like a clown. He doesn't bother me at all.
But then again,
But-
you're
I don't-
also
I don't-
listening
trying to
to
be
that
a sad
amazing
clown,
singing
so-
voice Puddles has got.
And I
But-
don't believe you have any problem with the Clown Prince of Crime.
The Joker? No.
He's not quite a normal clown either.
No.
Yeah.
But you get the freaking Ronald McDonald. I don't like Ronald McDonald. Ronald McDonald creeps me out. I would actually, so does the Burger King, so that's not a good comparison there.
Both very rational things to stay away from. It's that
All right.
smile, man.
Final thoughts. Matt.
Well, I guess that goes to me first. For a kids' television show, I'll say that the story was pretty decent. The fear on clowns, as much as some people like to meme on that, it's a legitimate thing. I do like that there was at least some deeper background to the creature, and that there was some resolution found within that. The introduction of Ronnie actually went relatively well, and I still enjoy a majority of this cast. I would like to see it come back somehow, some way, but sadly, there's a lot of issues with that right now. The visual effects outside of one or two sequences were usually pretty good. And my only major complaint that I can really think about is honestly that the ending was a little too easy once they figured it out.
All right.
That's about it.
Bill.
So this episode, my first reaction to it was that this is literally it for kids. I feel like they borrow really heavily from it, and while it doesn't really bother me at all when they do that with classic horror, the fact that they're doing this with a book published in the 80s, like 20 years later, feels a little it feels different. It doesn't hit the same as Dracula or Frankenstein being used to inspire a story, plus the fact that they borrow so heavily from it. I don't know if that affects my ranking, my score for it or not, just because I don't know how I would factor it in, but it's something I can't shake from my mind. It is a good introduction for Ronnie. They introduce all of her family members as distinct characters with their own likes, dislikes, traits, etc. Um, I did think it was a little weird that Sarah Jane was so bothered by being called Sarah when the doctor called her Sarah forever. But maybe
That'd be
it's
why.
yeah,
She's
maybe
the
it's just
only
something she
person she
decided that
allows
only the
that.
doctor can. I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, the only most of the things that I would complain about are just the fact that it's a serialized show. You can't resolve the conflict between Clyde and Ronnie's father in one episode, because they're both lasting characters. But I do think the climax of the episode would have been stronger if they had. For example, if Clyde's jokes had saved Haresh's life, uh, that would have been a perfect way to address, like, yeah, you're being an ass, and you both can compromise a little bit and meet each other in the middle. But I'm guessing they need to go back and forth for a few seasons before that happens. I don't know if that ever ends, because I know the show never properly ended due to unfortunate reasons. So I can't hold that too harshly against the episode. And I do think it's a good episode overall.
All right, Thomas.
This was one that I know I had seen prior, not realize that Bradley Walsh was in it the first time, I don't think, because I forget if when I watched this the first time he'd been cast as Graham yet. I could be I
probably
honestly
not.
don't remember. Which I guess if we did this the year series 10 ended, maybe like the series 10 aired, I should say, then maybe that could be why I didn't recognize him. But yeah, He does amazingly well in this. Like, pretty much all the acting is great. No matter what problems I have with like little bits and pieces here and there, like everything else to me is like the at least with the acting is solid, even if maybe the writing um was a bit iffy here and there. And like I've always like I'll probably be saying this every freaking week for the next 3 weeks, but I just love that this, despite the fact that this is on like a channel in the UK that is primarily like really like little kid stuff, that this basically just has a classic Who tone and doesn't talk down to kids at all. Like yeah, it's a lot of, like all of Clyde's jokes are very kid jokes and all that, but like whatever. Again, this is aimed at kids. He's not gonna really act like a normal teenager. Um, but yeah, I really enjoy the hell out of this, to be quite honest. I wasn't necessarily expecting it to hold up this well, but at least to me it did. And it's one of those things where I fucking wish, I've said it a million times, but I wish New Who would just go to this format of splitting the episodes in half if they're going to be that fucking long. And just have like half-hour episodes where everything is a two-parter and maybe a three-parter if you really need to get more story out of it, because it works. The pacing works so much better in this way. But yeah, I would definitely say this is worth checking out.
Okay, I'm going to be the weird one here. Because I can't like this very much because of my dislike of Clown. And they are fucking all over the place in this episode. It is not one of those It's not one of those fear squiggles that make you feel good. You know.
It's like my reaction to Sabrina when I reviewed season 4.
I don't know. It just makes me want to leave the room.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, the introduction of Ronnie was good. Her family was decent. The acting was sound. It's just the topic bothered me.
The horror hit a little too close for home.
Ratings. Matt, you first.
I guess. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna stick there. 4.5. A few tweaks it could have been a 5 easy.
Bill.
He's starting off with setting a high bar. I think I'll still stick with what I have, even because I'm not trying to compete with it, even if that's high. But I think I'm giving it a 4 with an asterisk with some of the stuff I mentioned. But in terms of what matters, is a 4.
Okay, Thomas.
I'm with Matt. I'm giving this a 4.5.
I'm gonna give it a 4.
Okay.
And I'm being generous because of the amount of heebie. Anyway, that averages it to a 4.3. That will put it at number 118 of 375 things reviewed. It is on par with the Horror of Fang Rock, Mind of Evil, Empress of Mars, Unicorn and the Wasp, Enemy of the Bane. It is better than Warriors of the Kudiak, and it is not as good as The Last Sun. Actually, it is on par with The Last Suntaran. Not as good as. There are no 4.4s in the Sarah Adventures. Not as good as Death of the Doctor. There we go. 118. 375 things reviewed. That is all we have to say about the Day of the Clown. Thank you, Lord.
And so please let us know in the comments what you think and how you feel about clowns. Don't forget to like or dislike the video if you feel that way. And of course, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube if you want to get our exports every week. Or just go ahead and follow us on Twitch to see our new streams every Wednesday evening.
You know, I just realized we could have done this back to back with Greatest Show of the Galaxy, and I would have hated all of you.
Be glad then that we padded it out a bit.
Anyway, next week we
going back to your
continue
trauma.
our annual memoriam for Elizabeth Sladen. We are going to do another Sarah Jane Adventures. It is Secrets of the Stars, written by Gareth Roberts and starring Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith, Tommy Knight as Luke Smith, Daniel Anthony as Clyde Langer, Anjali Mohindra as Rani Chandra, and Alexander Armstrong as Mr. Smith. See you next week.
And now for the short, here comes the circus. And I hope it goes down hard. Push the button, Frank.